Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Sew HoneyBea. In today's video, I will be doing another pattern from Sophisticated Crafts Designs Snap-N-Go series. Now the first one was the duffel bag. This one is the expandable tote. Now, just like the duffel bag, I am making this one on a domestic machine as well. Now, there were a few mistakes that I made in making this tote. One being that I put the zipper on upside down, but it still works. I will be putting the correction in little notes there so that you can put it going the right side. This one closes going this way, whereas it should be closing going the opposite way. But like I said, I'll leave those little notes there for you so that you can do it going the right way. Now I know you're going to want to make one of these. So let's get started. Now we're going to start off on step 1 with our zipper tab. Cut one out of the fabric choice that you have. Then you will take this piece and then cut it into 3 pieces. Now that's what I have done here, and I've already folded 2 of those. And this is going to be for my top zipper. And now this tab is going to be for the expandable zipper. Now you will notice that it's a little wider than my pattern piece. And there's a reason for that. Number 1, she has you to where you're going to fold in 3/8 of an inch like this. I want to fold it in all the way so that there's a lot of stability in this zipper tab. Plus, I needed to have it accommodate the zipper that I have. When you have your tab, you want to make sure that when it's all folded, that it is going to be the same width as your zipper. So that's why mine is a little bit wider than the pattern piece. So go ahead and just check on your zipper and see to make sure that it is going to be the right dimensions. Now take your tab and fold it in on itself at 3/8 of an inch. Or if you want to, put it into the center. Just as long as your final measurement is the width of your zipper. Now this side with the blue is what I want to be shown. So I'm going to put the double stick tape on this side. So let me put it right there, just like that. And then fold it over. Just like that. So now when I sew this onto my zipper, it'll be like that, and so my blue is what is showing. Okay, now you are going to do that same thing to these 2 pieces that you've cut out, these 2. So you should have a total of 3 tabs folded in on 3 sides. Okay, so this is for my top zipper. So these are the 2 tabs for this one. Okay, and so I'm going to put this one aside for right now. Now before you put on your zipper tab, be sure to put on your zipper pull. Okay, so now you can see that this is the back portion of my zipper, because as I pull away from this end, my zipper closes up. So now I want to grab this tab, pin it at the sides, just like that, so that my raw edge of my tab is meeting up now with the raw edge of my zipper. So now, as you can see, the width of my tab is the same as my zipper. So now you'll want to be sure to adjust those side folds to accommodate the width of your zipper. Now I want to sew across the raw edges using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Now I want to fold my zipper tab to the wrong side and cover up my thread for my stitching line. Now I want to top stitch across here, making sure that I'm going to catch my tab in the back as well. end of my zipper tab to this point is the total length of my zipper that is found on step number 4. So now I want to put this at a 90-degree angle right at that measurement. So I want to bend it right at that point, bring up my end, just like that. Do the same thing on this side. So now when I bring my zipper all the way up, you can see that it's like that, okay? So now I want to tack both of these down right there. Okay, just like that. Okay, so now I want to cut off the extra. Just leave a little bit on there. Okay, now our zipper is ready. Now we're on step 6. So grab B5, which is our key leash, and our swivel clasp. Now you'll notice I didn't put the double stick tape from one side to the other because my needle keeps getting gummed up with the double stick tape. So that is a section where I'm going to top stitch it. So I wanted to make sure to keep it out of that seam. Now fold the long ends into the center. Take the swivel clasp, put it in there like that, making sure that it's in there snugly. Bring the two ends together, the two raw edges, and clip it, just like that. Now she also has it that you can actually use webbing for this portion. Okay, so you can use either or. Now I want to top stitch all 3 sides. There's my key leash complete, and so now I'm going to put this aside until I need it. Now we are doing steps 7 through 10, and that is our front panel, which is a slip zipper pocket. So get your piece A1 and A2 and your zipper with the pull. On step number 7, she gives you a measurement as to the amount you're going to cut off of this panel. And that is so that when we put our zipper inside of here, our picture is continuous. So as you can see, I've already cut that here. So I'm going to set this piece aside as well as my lining. And now I'm going to get my lower panel and my zipper. I want my zipper to close from right to left. So I'm going to put these right sides together and sew across the top using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I've also changed out the presser foot in my machine to a zipper foot. Now I want to top stitch across the top. Now I'm going to take my top panel, make sure that it matches, put right sides together, matching up my side seams and the top seam as well. Clip all the way across and then sew that with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and then top stitch. So now get your zipper scissors and cut down your zippers. Now get your lining panel and match it up. But remember, this is a rectangle, not a square, so make sure it's going in the right direction. Clip it across the top and the bottom, and then sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, depending on if you used a zipper foot or not, there may be a discrepancy of your length at the bottom. Go ahead and sew the top portion first, and then go down to sew the bottom. But since my zipper is already in place, I'm going to switch back out to my standard zipper foot. So as you can see, I put a secondary stitching line up here because my fabric frays tremendously, as you can see right here. So now I want to make both of these panels one size. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off this bottom portion. Now sew the bottom seam again at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now turn your pocket right side out and top stitch the top and the bottom. Okay, so now our slip pocket is complete, so we'll put this aside for right now. Now we are on steps 11 through 13. I have my zipper with the zipper pull and B1. Okay, so now I want my lining right side up, my zipper closing from the right to the left, right side down, so they're right sides together. Now I cut my zipper a little bit longer so that I could put my zipper pull completely out of the way. Okay, and I'll put a clip there so it doesn't fall off. I will once again switch out my foot to a zipper foot. Sew your zipper on using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Before I do the top stitching on this side, I'm going to sew the other portion to my zipper, and then I'll switch back to a standard foot and then do my top stitching. In step 13, she gives you a measurement as to how much fabric you are going to have on the top of your zipper. I've made that marking and I have folded it, and I have folded the bottom as well. Okay. Now our next step normally would be to top stitch both sides of the zipper and then top stitch the top and the bottom and close out the ends. But I have white thread on my machine right now, so I will wait till I apply this to the tote, because by that time I will have blue thread on my machine, because I don't want to top stitch this all with white thread. I want to do it with blue. So I'm going to go ahead and put this aside for right now and then go on to the next step. But again, if you are not going to change out the thread, go ahead and top stitch both of these edges along the zipper, the top and the bottom, and close out, basting the sides. I want to share with you how I come to know where to place my pattern piece for the fussy cut. You'll notice that this portion here, this dashed box, is where our fussy cut is supposed to be. And this is for the bottom, the lower part of the pocket. This one here is for the upper part of the pocket. So if I take this portion here and fold it right at the dashed line, take this portion and fold it at the dashed line, that is where our fussy cut will be. Now you will notice that our top portion is folded in half at that dashed line, whereas the bottom is not. So I started off with the top portion. I folded it in half and then folded it in a quarter. Then on my fabric, I took one corresponding point in my panel and I measured from the point of the eye over, and I drew a line with chalk. I went over here and I drew from the corner of my eye, the same exact spot, and drew a chalk line there as well. So I know that that there is going to be the center of my focal point. So now, because I could do the top panel in quarters and they were folded right on that dashed line, I went ahead and I did the top first. I also marked up here at the top with a chalk mark this line here, because that is my seam allowance. So I marked that here and I went down to make sure that there was enough room at the top for the top of my picture, because I don't want to put this on here and then cut off the top of the bird's head. So I left an amount of space on top of the head. So then I took this here and I want to do the top to the top. So I put on the bottom, matching up my chalk line, okay, and then pinned it on there like that, making sure I still had enough room on the top. Pinned it all around and then cut it out, okay? And you can see my panel is upside down, my picture is upside down. Let me put this aside. Then what I did was, because I know that this panel is going to be cut in half, I took it and I pinned it right in half. I took it on top of the panel that I had the chalk mark on, and I placed it right on top so that I could see that, number one, my chalk line was going from this panel through my top panel and then again down into my bottom of my lower panel. Just like that. Then I took my lower panel and I lined it right up so that, if you can fold it this way, you can put it like that right on top of that portion, just like that. Hold everything, pick this up, okay, and very carefully fold it back on itself. Pin all this down here. Then remove your top panel, put it going up like this, and then continue to pin it all the way around. So that now I know that my two boxes will line up with each other right where I want them, just like that. So that's how I did the fussy cut. Now, if you do not have a panel or a picture in your fabric that you want to focus on, then you're just going to cut out the two pieces just regular. But it's nice that she adds that little touch of the fussy cuts to all of her patterns. I really like that. So if you do have a fabric that can accommodate this technique, it's really fun to use it. In step 15, she gives you a measurement. You are going to go down and in. And be sure to use an air erasing marker, because as you can see here, I made a mistake. But that'll go away. So now I have my snaps that I want to use. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to work on the bottom portion first. I have 2 pieces of Decaville Heavy to put on the back. Now the reason why we use stabilizer is so that as these snaps are being tugged at and snapped and opened and everything, they will not tear out your fabric or fall off. Punch the holes at that spot. Grab some fray check and put it on there, because I do not want this fraying. I'm going to put some on this side. I'm going to flip it around and put some on this side as well, to make sure that both sides are really soaked, because this fabric frays so badly. Now, this is my bottom portion, and then this is the top, like this. So my snap has to go on this side and my cap on the back side. So put the cap first of all. Open it out. Put your piece of Decaville. This is the piece that I'm using. Put that on there. And before you press, make sure that your cap is in there really well. And then your snap is set. Now do the same thing to this side over here. And use the same snap as you're using on this side, use on this side. Okay, now my snaps are set. Now the markings for my top portion, I want to put the markings on this side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark those with my air marker, and I'll be right back. Okay, now before I cut anything, I'm going to take 2 pins. Now I want to just barely be able to see the silver portion of the pin on this side, and that is because I want to take my lower pocket and I want to set this right on top where I want it, just like that. Now I want to take a peek and make sure that my snap is right at that portion. Make sure it works on both sides. And it does. So now I know that my snaps right here at these marks are just right. So now I'm going to set that aside again, and then set my snaps on this side. So again, let's put this on here so that we're not guessing. We know. Now my panel's going to go like this, so I want my caps on this side and my snap on this side. So just like that. Now I'm doing the other side, so I need this snap. Okay, now my pocket is done and it looks really good. It lined up really well. Okay, now we're on step number 17. My pocket is done. And now I want to open this out like this and bring my two raw edges together at the top and pin it across the top or clip it. Either way works. I'm going to switch back to my standard foot. And I put two pins there. Don't top stitch the top. Just baste the two sides and top stitch the bottom. Okay, so now I have my back panel, my lining, which is two pieces. So we need the key leash and one of the linings. In step 19, she gives you a measurement. You're going to draw a line, as I've done right here with an air erasable marker. Now I have my key leash, and I want to place my key leash below that line and at an angle as well. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin right here. Instead of a clip. Now I want to baste my key leash onto my lining piece, making sure again that my key leash is below this line. Okay, just like that. Okay, so now I want to grab my snap pocket and line it up with the bottom. Okay, so now I want to baste the whole perimeter using a 1/8 inch seam allowance. So now is the time that we are going to top stitch across the top. Okay, so now I've taken my other lining piece, put it right sides together. So you should have your lining piece on the bottom, your snap pocket, and then your other lining piece. So the snap pocket is getting sandwiched in between the two lining pieces. Okay, so now I want to sew all 3 of these sides using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Because this fabric is fraying so badly, I'm going to serge these edges here. Now for yourself, you can either pink the edges or you can even use fray check. It's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and use a serger because I want to make sure that this seam does not become unraveled. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my serger out. I feel much better and more confident about these seams now. Just bring those just a little bit. Now I can finish this pocket by turning it right side out. Okay, so now I'm going to baste my seam close across the top using a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now this seam down here seems very thick, but that was my fault because step 17 should have only been put right sides together and top stitched on the top portion because of this panel, not on the bottom portion as well. So there's an extra seam allowance in there. So I'll add a note to say that we are only doing step 17 on the top portion and not the bottom. Okay, so there's my complete pocket. So now I'm going to take a break and then I'll be back. So now, as you can see again, top stitch on both sides of your zipper, top stitch along the top, baste your 2 sides closed, and top stitch along the bottom so that that pocket is now fully enclosed. Okay. As for the webbing, I went ahead and I cut it to the dimensions, but I added 12 inches to it because I want the webbing, my handles to be longer since I'm tall. So each strap will be 6 inches longer than is called for in the pattern. Okay, and that's just for me. You can either choose to do it shorter or longer or the same size as the pattern. It's up to you. So now I'm ready for the main panel assembly. I have my main panel and I'm going to start off with this pocket and my webbing. Now I've used a air erasing marker or pen to make my markings because I want to be able to see it. I want you to be able to see it, but I don't want it to stay. So now I want to take my measurement along the bottom and I want to place my pocket, center it right on top of that, okay, and then pin it. Okay, now we are going to place our webbing right on the outside of that marking. So the marking is right here. Let me see, can you see that marking right there? Okay, so I want to put my webbing on the outside of my marking. So right there, like that, okay? Then we're going to sew up, do a box up here, and then sew down the side. Now, you can determine for yourself whether or not your machine will take double stick tape. Mine does not like it at all, even though double stick tape is wonderful to be able to use. So around up here is where I'm going to do my box. I do not want double stick tape in there. But over here, I'm only going to top stitch it on both sides. So I can put double stick tape down here so that my webbing is held in place. Okay, now I want to do the same thing to this side over here. And I'm not putting the tape right on that line because that's where my top stitching is going to go. Okay, I just tried on the webbing, put it on myself to make sure it wasn't too long. Okay, so now making sure that your webbing is not twisted. Now I'm going to take off. Put my label in there, my tag. It says, "I'm handcrafted, take care of me." So now make sure that your webbing is completely covering your slip pocket, because as we top stitch across here, we want to make sure that we catch the label and all the raw edges of our pocket are caught also with the webbing so that there's a clean finish. Okay, so there I've marked my box where I'm going to put it on this side. And let me put a pin on the top to make sure that my webbing stays right where I want it, because there's no double stick tape in this section. Okay, so now I'm ready to sew on my webbing. I want to make sure that my webbing is not twisted. Okay, so I feel confident about that. But what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and sew on my webbing starting on the inside. Okay, so right here in this corner, when I came into this corner right here, I didn't drop my needle all the way in there and then turn it so that the bobbin could be caught. So what happened was it skipped a stitch right there. So can you see that? But I'm okay with that because, number one, this is my bag. If I was doing this to sell, I would have put that again, done it again. Okay, now I want to do the same thing to this side over here. Now on this side I started on the inside, but on this side I want to start on the outside because I want to start on the same side of my webbing. Okay, so I'm going to start on the outside over here. Put my needle all the way down, lift it up, pivot. I'm making sure that when I lift up my needle that it's taut. You see how the needle is straight? That means that the bobbin is holding on to the bottom, so I'm okay. Lift up my needle. My thread is not tight, but it's being held. It's not really loose. Or the stitch is completed is what I'm trying to say. pin. Okay, I'm really happy with the way it came out. Okay, now I have this pocket. I'm going to do my snap. Okay, so now let me find the center here. Okay, so there's my center. Okay, so now I want to take this and match up my centers so that the snap portion of my pocket is right side up. My panel is wrong side up, okay? Now I want to secure my snap pocket to my panel. Now I want to make sure my webbing isn't in the way and that I'm only sewing my panel and my pocket. Okay, so my pocket is on here securely. Then on this side, my webbing and my back pocket is on. Okay, this stitched on there really poorly. There was a issue with my bobbin. So I went ahead and I rethreaded my whole machine, and so I'm going to sew it again. Okay, and that sewed that on there really good. Okay, so now my panel is done and I can put this aside and grab my other panel. So now this panel is my front pocket and I have to measure the bottom. Okay, I had to remark my markings there. So now I want to find my center point. I'm wanting to snip into this fabric as little as possible because it is fraying so bad. Okay, so right there. I want to make sure it's straight. Okay, and as you can see here, I also fussy cut this front panel and putting the bird in the pocket and then the roses on the outside. And I really like the way that came out. Okay, so now I want to put these together, my webbing sides, and put a couple of clips because I'm going to roll the edges of my handles. So I want to make sure that they are right with each other on this side. And they are right with each other on this side as well. Let me move my zipper over so it doesn't make so much noise. Okay, so now my webbing is good. And now this is the center portion of my webbing. Now on step 30, she gives you that measurement as to putting your handles together to do a rolled handle. Now, let me remove these clips. Okay, so now my panel is like this, and I want to make sure that my handles aren't twisted. And this is the right side of my handle. This is the wrong side, as you can see here, okay? On this side as well. I want to fold them like this, so that on this side, my right side, I'm seeing the big folded edge. And then on this side, I see my two raw edges. So I want to bring both of those raw edges together. Take the thread out of my clip. Okay. And then clip all the way down. So now I'm going to sew from this point. Where's my other one here? Mark to that point. Okay, so now when I look at my webbing, I want the top part to look like that on the right side. And let's see what's going on here. Did I do that right? Yeah, I did. Okay, that confused me a little bit. It looked like it wasn't centered. Let me make sure. Yeah, it is. Okay. So on the right side, I want it to look like that. And when it's down, I want to see this edge. So this is my wrong side and this is my right side. So now I'm going to put this panel aside and do the same thing and roll the webbing on my front panel or on my back panel. Okay, so here's my front panel. Did I mark my center? No. Gotta mark my center. My handles out of the way. Okay, now I want my zipper closing from right to left. So I'm going to put these two right sides together because as you can see, my zipper is closing the way I want it to. So I'm going to match up my both centers. So I'm making sure that my ends are both the same amount on each end after my tab. And they are, so that's good. But first of all, I'm going to switch out to my zipper foot. This here, you see how this is fraying so badly? I'm afraid that that is going to just keep fraying until it gets to my seam line, and then eventually that seam will fall apart. Okay, so now I want to make sure that I'm not cutting off anything again. So I just want to serge that end. And I'm going to unzip my zipper all the way down. Okay, much better. I feel much better about that. And now all these fraying edges, all these fraying threads, I can just clip them. And they won't go anywhere. Okay, so even though I couldn't get that close to the edge to completely enclose the edge, it did enough that I feel okay about it. So now I'm going to go back to my machine and top stitch. But you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to do this edge first and then put away the machine instead of dragging out the machine again. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew on and serge this end first before I put away the serger and then have to take it out again. Okay, so I want to grab my other panel and put it right sides together. So here's my right side, here's my right side. And now I want to grab the other side, and I believe, yeah, that's the center point. Okay, and my ends are matching up right there. Now, when I make this bag again, because I really like this bag, so I know I'm going to be making some more of them, and I'm going to make sure that I use a fabric that doesn't fray this much, so that way it'll be a lot easier to do all these steps. So now you can see that both edges of my zipper and fabric have been serged. Okay, so now they won't be fraying anymore. And now I've already sewn this side with the zipper foot. Now I've got to sew this side with the zipper foot. Okay, so I want to put these right sides together like this. And sew this side over here. So now I'm going to top stitch where my zipper is. And in order to do that, I will no longer need my zipper foot. So let me get my standard foot. And my needle is very gummy again, going over those tabs. Make sure on this side that this pocket, your snap pocket, that it's not bundled up or anything like that. It's right where you want it. And I'm going to use a hump jumper to help me get over that spot there. Okay. Okay, now to do the other side. know, at first I didn't know if I was going to like that zipper, but I really do. Okay, so now that's all top stitched and everything. I'm really happy with it. And when you open up your zipper on, if you're looking at your front, you have your front zipper with this slip pocket. Then on this side, you have your back zipper pocket, but then you have this on the inside also, and this is your snap pocket. Okay, so and my zipper is closing the right way that I want it. You can have your zipper close any way, which way you want it, but that's the way I like it. Now we are on step 34, where we are going to be doing French seams on our sides. Now you will notice that this fabric that I'm using is fraying tremendously. Now I love using this fabric for this tote. It's got the right thickness, it's waterproof, it's pretty. Now they say hindsight is 20/20. If I use this fabric again, I'm going to serge all the edges right as soon as I cut this fabric. Now if your fabric is not fraying, you're going to baste these two panels together using a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, that is much better. Now my fraying will be enclosed there. In turning this, I like to put a pin or a clip right here to make sure that my tab is going to stay right where I want it. Let me open this out. Let me get a bigger clip. There's a little clip I use to with a magnet to put on my cabinet, but that'll work out really good there. Now I want to pin this seam all the way down and then sew it using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, making sure that all threads and fibers are taken care of. Okay, and then once I sew this side, then I'll move my clamp over to this side. Okay, so now I'm going to sew using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, it's good. I'm happy with my stitches, and I want to just burn this just lightly. All these threads, if there's any threads that are still poking through. Okay, now to do the same thing on this side. For you, it may be easier to start at the top and work your way down, but because of so much fraying and everything on my fabric, I really want to keep an eye on it. That's why I'm going from the bottom to the top. Okay. pin on that side. Be really careful not to run over any pins. It can really damage your machine. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, I'm happy with my 2 seams. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off this bottom edge with a serger as well, because I do not want this to fray any more than it already has. So I'm going to grab the serger back and finish that off. I really like the way that came out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then I'll be back for the next step. Okay, now we're ready to assemble our base, and that is step 37. You are going to need your long zipper, your base, which is C, and then the gusset, which is C1. I want to fold it wrong sides together, and then clip it across the top. Now I want to grab my zipper and put it right at the center and clip it there as well. Just like that. I'm going to clip it over here on this side as well so that it is just out of my way. Okay. Now I want to open out my zipper. Okay, so what we're doing is putting a French seam on this side at this seam as well, and basting on the zipper at the same time. So now I want to sew across this seam using a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, now I want to turn the fabric Now you should be looking at the wrong side of your fabric, because remember we're doing a French seam. And now I'm going to sew across here using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So let's move our zipper pull out of the way so it won't interfere with our stitching. Okay. Okay, so now turn it right side. Okay. So now I want to finish off this seam by making sure that my French seam is going away from my zipper, and then top stitch it across the top. I think I heard a skipped stitch. Let's see, yep, skipped a bunch of stitches. Okay, let's do this again. As you can see, my machine did not want to top stitch over this tab because of the double stick tape. It just kept skipping stitches right over it and gumming up my needle. So I went ahead and I top stitched on this side, and I top stitched on this side, and now I'm going to put a rivet right there so that this tab is stable in this seam. Okay, because there's going to be a lot of pulling and tugging on this zipper on this tab. Even though our zipper will be sewn down like this, I still want to make sure that this seam here is reinforced, that this tab is okay. For you, all you're going to do is top stitch across the top. Okay, So I'm going to put a rivet and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now I feel confident that that tab is really going to be staying in there. Now, because this fabric frays so much, I was sure to put fray check on each of these layers. So now I am happy with that tab. Okay, now I've done my markings here. She gives you the markings in the pattern, the measurements on each side, and you'll notice that they're not even with each other. So you'll want to make sure that you put the right marking on the right side. This is your seam over here, so this is your top and here's your bottom, so you can see that they're not right on top of each other. So now I'm going to grab a few pins, and I want to bring my zipper tape right to that marking right there, and I want to place a pin right there. Okay, now you'll notice that there's a little bit of ease in here. Okay, so you want to be aware of that, just like that. Okay, and you can put double stick tape on here if your machine will take it, but we already have determined that mine does not. And now I'm wondering if I can move this out of the way and then sew it like that. Then, yeah. Okay, so now I've moved my zipper pull out of the way, and I'm going to do one side at a time. Now, it's so much easier to sew going this way on this zipper, having your zipper teeth on the left and your zipper tape on the right. If you are left-handed, it might be easier going the other way. Okay, and as you can see, I have switched my thread back out to white for this zipper portion. I want to make sure I'm only sewing through the zipper tape and one layer. Okay. Now I do not want to go all the way to the top up here. I want to stop probably about 1/4 of an inch because I want that gradual turn, because we're going to go ahead and turn this once it's up there, okay? I probably should have left the blue thread in my bobbin, but I didn't. I'm okay with that. Okay, now let me open this back up, because now we've got to put it on this side, matching it up. Let me see if I zip it up again. It'll do fine. Okay, so now in sewing this side, I've flipped it around because it's so much easier to sew with your zipper teeth on the left-hand side and your zipper tape on the right-hand side. So now I'm going to sew coming this way, okay? Now, if you can sew going both ways, that is wonderful. Go ahead and do that, but I'm going to show you how to go this way on the sewing. And make sure everything is out of the way. You're only going through this layer and your zipper tape. Now I want to clip all of this going down, just like that. But I didn't stop up here close enough. Okay. Okay, so now I want to grab this and I want to clip all the way around. And your zipper tape on both ends should overlap each other. So that's correct on that side. Okay, so your clipping should look like this. Your zipper end that we folded back should overlap on both sides of this zipper here, okay? So it should look just like that. So now I want to base my zipper onto my gusset using a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, so now when we go to zip this up, it should zip close going all the way around, just like that, okay? That looks good. Okay, and then when we open it up, the gusset expands. So now I am ready to apply my base to my gusset. And that is starting at step 43. So I want to first of all find my centers on all 4 sides. Okay, now in step 43, she shows you which one is the top and which one is the bottom. With the zipper gusset going this way, this is the top, this is the bottom. So now we want to grab right sides together and match all of our centers. See how they're right sides together, and then clip going all the way around. So you should be seeing the right sides together of this side. Okay. And we are going to sew around here using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we are going to sew base up. And I've got my needle, if you can see that's the center, I've moved it to the left so that way it can get as close as I can get to the zipper. Now turn your panel right side out. Okay, so now I'm happy with the way that came out, so I'm going to go ahead and unzip it. And open out my gusset again. Okay, so now you have a choice as to if you want to top stitch this here or if you want to put binding on it. Okay, I switched out my thread to blue and broke a fingernail in the process. Okay, so now I'm going to serge this edge here. I feel like I have to tighten my tension. Okay, yeah. Let me try it again. Still doing. I think it's not the tension. Let me move my tension back. I don't think it's the tension. I think what it is that I can't get close enough to this edge with this foot. So I'm just going to leave it like that. So I am now going to top stitch it, and I'm going to top stitch with my lining towards my base like this. So I'm going to be sewing on my base portion. Okay, so there's the inside, and I'm happy with that. And now we are almost done. Now, because I serged this end already, I'm going to go ahead and serge this end so that way it'll, when I go to top stitch it, both edges will be finished. So I'm going to do that right now, and then I'll be right back. Now we're on the final assembly. So I want to, first of all, get my center points again. Let's see now. Because I took out my pins to serge this across the top, okay, and now I want to find my centers here. Okay. Here's the way it looks on step 50. We have our snap pocket here. Our panel is upside down, okay? And so now, here's the zipper portion with our tab on this side. I want to take and put it like this, right sides together, and I want to match up this seam here with my center point and pin it. Then I want to go all the way around here, and I want to match up my point here to my side. Then I want to go around the back, match up my two back points, final side. So now I just want to clip or pin in between. So now I want to tuck my base into my tote so that my seam is exposed all the way around, just like that. Okay. So from the inside you should see the right side of your tote and the right side of your expansion. Okay, and from this side you should only have it like this. Okay. And I'm going to sew my panel side up. Okay, so now I am going to give it another row of stitching just to make sure that that is reinforced, and I'm going to do it from this side. Okay, so now we've got to top stitch this with our zipper tape and everything seam going this way. So we're going to top stitch across here so that when we go to zip up this zipper, this won't get caught into there. It'll all be nice and clean inside of there like that. So make sure that the seam on your gusset is going towards your panel. And then we are going to top stitch right here. Okay? Okay, so now I've switched my thread back to white since I'm top stitching on the panel. And here, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go through the webbing, all this thickness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back stitch here, jump on over, and then continue to top stitch. Okay, now jump over that webbing. Drop my needle. Okay, we are finished. Now I like that top stitching. So now let me zip this up. Okay, our tote bag is complete, and I really like it. And now let me fold it into our pocket. Okay, now to fold it into our pocket, I'm going to put the webbing, fold in the bottom like that, put the webbing in like this on both sides. Fold in each side. And fold. And then this goes into here. I really like the way this has come out. But what I'm noticing now, I should have flipped this to go on the other side so that my bird picture would be on this side. So I have to remember that for next time, and I'll have to add that note in there also, so that this here, went through all that to make this pocket really pretty, then I put it going on the wrong side. In editing, I'll make note of that so that to make sure that this panel doesn't go to the outside, it goes to the inside. So when we stuff everything into our pouch, into our pocket here, this is what you will see on the outside, and then the key leash over here. Okay? Now I really do hope that you will make one of these, whether it is this one, the SnapN'Go Tote, or the SnapN'Go Duffel. As you can see, it can be made on a domestic sewing machine. Okay, thank you for watching all the way to the end, and please like, share, and subscribe. Okay, until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.